Hello, my name is Marguerite Horberg, and I'm the founder and executive director of Hot House, a 33-year-old arts organization in Chicago. Today, it gives me enormous pleasure to announce the launch of Hot House Global, our streaming platform featuring and connecting artists and activists from all over the world. It is our intention to provide a primary platform for people to meet, connect, and envision a better world. We invite you to join us with your ideas and with your opportunities for connecting here at Hot House Global. Today we are extraordinarily blessed to have the featured program debut with the extraordinary Tatsu Aoki. Tonight he brings just an amazing array of musical composition, film, historical and cultural legacy and understanding of his culture with us, with his family, with his many colleagues, and to also showcase just his range of immense talent. So we want to stop.
Thank you very much, Marguerite, for wonderful introduction, and thank you for all the people who are involved to do this. And let me talk to you a little bit about the long history of Hot House uh, and why we are able to do this kind of a collaboration between Hot House Global and Asian Improv Arts. We started to appear in a Hot House many years ago from the old Hot House on Milwaukee Avenue, and people like Yoko Noge from the blues scene, and also creative music, people like myself and all the other colleagues started to play on Milwaukee. Then we moved to the new location at the time at the Balbo. I remember we had to shut down one of our performances because of the Chicago Bulls won, and the streets are going just so wild. That was on Milwaukee. Then on Come Balbo, Yoko Noge's Monday night series continued on. Then we brought in many editions of Asian American Jazz Festival in the old Hot House. And from there, including myself and our colleagues, and that was sort of a very important departure point in Chicago music. And it was one of the few venues in the city that gave us opportunity to present our work uh, every week. And we also had the Velvet Lounge to do that stuff. And so during the first two decades of Asian improv arts, both sides, in San Francisco side and Chicago side, we had a really wonderful relationship to date. And I'm so honored to be able to present this program today. Many things could happen because it's a pilot trial volume one, but I think we're gonna try our best to give you a great experience with the Hot House Global today. So, artist number one, we're gonna talk about introduce before we get to the artist number one, we have to do some greeting from our Asian American community leaders, talking about a current sort of a anti-Asian sentiment that's going on with COVID-19. It's kind of important to address that issue from our Asian American community. So we have a two representative to give you a little message.
These days, sometimes it feels like we're living a science fiction movie, one whose themes we've seen before. A pandemic caused by a novel contagion has forced us to shelter at home, containing ourselves to contain its invasive spread, and in time, hopefully to find a means to end the threat it poses to our society. Epidemic disease caused by microscopic organisms are a variation of science fiction's most potent theme, the peril of alien invasion, which is usually seen as extraterrestrial. But the original aliens in science fiction were actually Asian. The term alien was not used in science fiction before World War II, while it was specifically attached to Asian immigrants who were deemed, quote, aliens ineligible for citizenship in the early 20th century. Many of the associations with extraterrestrial alien invasion conveyed from racial fears and anxieties about the yellow peril that Asians represented, which included concerns about science, medicine, and health. These concerns were potently expressed in the popular cultural figure of the evil Oriental villain, first introduced in the character of Dr. Fu Manchu. Described as the yellow peril incarnate in one man, the insidious doctor actually headed a vast secret network of agents, henchmen, and laboratories conspiring to take over the world. The fear he represented of Eastern invasion and overthrow of the West was, however, the inverse of actual historical European and American imperialism in Asia at the time, whose social disruptions led Asians to migrate globally in large numbers. Figuratively, defeat of his villainy redeemed these colonial ventures and the science, technology, and industry applied to advance them. American science fiction updated Fu Manchu's contemporaneous threat for its imagined future and other worlds, counterposing Oriental enemies to all American heroes to highlight their greater virtue and gumption. Anthony Buck Rogers fought technologically advanced but morally corrupt Han air lords and Mongol raiders in a 25th century race war, while Flash Gordon rode a rocket ship to Mongo, the planet of doom, where he confronted and combated his nemesis, Ming the Merciless, an extraterrestrial who nevertheless was familiarly Asian. But we're not living a science fiction movie, and despite racial rhetoric and fears to the contrary, Asians have always been part of America. Filipino Manila men settled in what is now San Milo, Louisiana in the early 18th century. South Asians and Chinese were brought to the Caribbean in large numbers in the early 19th century as part of the British coolie trade. Chinese workers were vital to the construction of the first transcontinental railroad in the 1860s, and Asian workers contributed to the growth of agriculture, mining, lumber, and fishing industries in California, Wyoming, Oregon, and throughout the western United States in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Although they were not always successful, Asian Americans in that period resisted efforts to exclude their immigration and eligibility for citizenship, persisting in their belief in the ideals that the United States offered but did not always realize. Their presence, our presence, forced the nation in the mid-20th century to reconsider and change its racially exclusionary laws and policies to become a better version of what it claims to be. The enduring tension within Asian American history is that Asian Americans have had to resist racial rhetoric that defines them as aliens to be excluded from society, while also persisting in their efforts to maintain and shape their place within society. That tension is amplified all the more in a scientific medical crisis whose outcome remains uncertain, such as our unfolding COVID-19 pandemic. In science fiction, defeating an Asian enemy might have represented a return to normalcy, but the peril in this pandemic is that it would create enemies that we do not need to fight. Rhetoric that associates the novel coronavirus with its Asian origin does not address COVID-19 itself. It diverts attention to and additionally imperils Asian Americans.
Hi, I'm Professor Russell Jung from San Francisco State Asian American Studies. With the community organizations Chinese for Affirmative Action and Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, we established the Center Stop AAPI Hate to track and monitor incidents of hate against Asian Americans during this pandemic. In just the first 4 weeks, we've received over 1,500 cases. This anti-Asian hate is viral, it's pervasive, and it's harrowing when you read the stories. What we're seeing now is as the Republicans began to make U.S.-China relations a major presidential campaign issue, the Chinese bashing will only get worse. And as people stay sheltered in place longer and as the economy tanks, I think the anger and scapegoating of Asians will even increase more. And so I'm very concerned about the state of affairs for our communities, and I hope you stay vigilant and work in collaboration with other communities of color to fight this racism. Thanks.
Thank you very much. It was kind of an important pre-intro to do this, to understand where we are, why we are doing what we're doing, continue on with the our legacy, musical legacy. And I am going to now be able to go to the program. And first artist today is Mai Sugimoto, who's a younger generation Asian American artist that we feature in many places. And she was born and raised in Japan, but came here. And she's been a vital Chicago jazz scene, leading her own band, and she has released her work from Asian Import Records. If you go back to our CD rack here, we have Mai's album right here, and you can buy this at the Amazon.com. I'm sure you're going to see the information on there. So let's go to Mai.
Thank you, Tatsu. It's such an honor to be here today and be able to share my solo set with you. I have some of these gadgets that I don't often get to play. And today would have been the day to record my second installment of the live trio with Tatsu and Abriel Ra. So unfortunately, with the virus and the lockdown, that one got canceled among other performances, but I'm really glad to be able to share a little bit of my performance. So I'm going to be playing a little bit of flute, saxophone, and some of these things. So please enjoy. All right, thank you so much for watching.
And now we're going to turn into our next program to a combo of Shubukai and Tsukasa Taiko. Those two are two of our cultural practice, traditional arts program. Shubukai is the Japanese classical dance, and Tsukasa Taiko is Japanese taiko drumming. And I want to show a combined performance together, which we do often on our public shows. And you can also have a Tsukasa Taiko. If I go back to our CD rack here of the Asian Improv Arts, I see these two Tsukasa Taiko CDs. They also have a vinyl too. If you are so willing to pay a little bit more money for the vinyl, you can buy them. But it's a wonderful type of music. One of the largest community group in Chicago or in the Midwest, and also Shubukai, which is headed by Shunojo Fujima, which appears later on today. But this particular collaboration of taiko drumming and dance, Shubukai's Yoshinojo Fushima, youngest, the newest grandmaster from Shubukai, and the Tsukasa Taiko, Kyoto Aoki and Noriko Sugiyama are performing this really ancient song. It's not really ancient song, but it's called You, and it was kind of used as a practice of a meditation, especially in the late 50s and 60s. So they are performing taiko drum and dance. Here comes Shubukai and Tsukasa Taiko. Yes, that was Shubukai and Tsukasa Taiko. And that was a really wonderful performance of dance and the taiko drum. And I have to tell you, many taiko groups around the Midwest, they don't really have a combo of dance and the taiko that many times. So I always enjoy whenever they perform publicly. We get to see parts of the Japanese dance, and we get to parts of the, you know, the taiko drumming. And now we're gonna move into a New York. We're gonna go to the New York now, and our dear friend, composer, educator, Jonathan Chen, who's been our associates for many years as well. And he used to be in Chicago, and he moved to New York, and he usually generally comes back to Chicago 2 or 3 times to do a show with us. And he's a wonderful electronic artist, and he has more than more than a dozen projects that's going on. He's also released 3 albums from Asian Improv Arts. It's called the Jonathan Chen Orchestra, and I love the name. I'm gonna go back to our CD rack to see if we could find the Jonathan. Here you are. He's one of the Jonathan Chen Orchestra album, which you can also buy. I love the name of the band. It's just really like Jonathan Chen Orchestra sounds so cool and authentic. Jonathan Chen Orchestra. He has 3 releases from Asian Improv Arts, and he's also working on multidisciplinary visual art and the soundscape project now. And I think he is supposed to be in Chicago, if everything goes well, in November for the 25th annual Chicago Asian American Jazz Festival. So let's go to New York now. That was Jonathan Chen on his electronics and violin and feedback, and I've always been interested in what he does. He's a contemporary artist and very versatile. He can also play violin straight up. I think it's good. My as well. He does all grounds. And recently, I had a chance to participate in his multi media performance with a visual art, and I think he created really nice background for us today from New York. Those of you who are into this electronic music and contemporary aspect of how to use feedback and all that stuff, go to Jonathan Chan's website. I think it's jonathanchan.net. Also, a very important thing that I need to mention about the program is in the beginning of the show, I think Marguerite also mentioned about this, is that to try to raise the money for the artist. And if you go to our channel, at the bottom, there's a donate button there. And if you can, it would be great if you could donate few dollars into a donation box, and we can kind of feed the artist this way and keep the great music going. And now I'm gonna go to our Korean friends. Byung-sang, he's been friend with us for I think more than 5, 6, 7 years. We've done a lot of collaborative work together, again with our drumming program, and also his Korean classical drumming and a dance program. And he used to call himself Global Pungmul Institute, but GPI. But now he expanded his operation in the area, and now they are calling Korean Performing Arts Institute of Chicago. Abbreviation is KPAC. And I think Byung-sang is going to talk a little bit about his organization, but it's another very important asset of our Asian American community. As much as Japanese taiko drumming, there's a Chinese drumming and a dance, and also Korean drumming and dancing. And so let's go to Byung-sang, Korean Performing Arts Institute of Chicago.
Hi, my name is Byung Kim, Executive Director of Korean Performing Arts Institute of Chicago, KPAC. Thank you so much thank you to Tatsu, Aoki, and Asian Improve Arts Midwest for arranging this event. Yeah, KPEG is a lead organization for the Korean performing arts in Midwest. We have five artists in residence. So they are all professional drummers from Korea, and we are providing education program and also performing arts programs too. So we try to provide very authentic Korean traditional drumming and Korean music. And also we have some projects called Rhythm Connections. Through that, we want to showcase some collaborative music as well. So if you're interested in any collaboration or Korean performing arts, just feel free to contact me. And today I'm going to show you some little bit of Korean traditional drumming called 설장구. Thank you. 얼씨구!
Thank you very much, Byungsa. It's our friend Byungsa from um, Korean Performing Arts Institute of Chicago, in one of the a very very strong community drumming group, and they have 5 or 6 professional drummers from Korea in residence, and they've been doing such a dynamite performances in the community, and I'm so happy to have Byungsa's group as part of our community endeavor for the last 5-6 years, and we have had many different occasions to be together in his drumming group and our taiko program and dance program, and have been very very happy to work with him. Please visit their webpage, Korean Performing Art Institute of Chicago, and KPAC is their abbreviation. Yes, and I think we have a message from Marguerite Hoberg right now. So let's see.
Hello, my name is Marguerite Horberg, and I'm the founder and executive director of Hot House, a 33-year-old arts organization in Chicago. Today, it gives me enormous pleasure to announce the launch of HotHouseGlobal, our streaming platform featuring and connecting artists and activists from all over the world. It is our intention to provide a primary platform for people to meet, connect, and envision a better world. We invite you to join us with your ideas and with your opportunities for connecting here at HotHouseGlobal. Today we are extraordinarily blessed to have the featured program debut with the extraordinary Tatsu Aoki. Tonight he brings just an amazing array of musical composition, film, historical and cultural legacy and understanding of his culture with us, with his family, with his many colleagues, and to also showcase just his range of immense talent. So we want to
Thank you, Marguerite. That was a comment and statement from Marguerite. And our intention is to, in the difficult time of COVID-19, there are many performers from our community needs to be supported. So this is one of the ways that you can support them to keep this cultural legacy of Asian Americans alive. And thank you very much, Marguerite and HotHouseGlobal, for us to be able to do this. I know you're waiting for the next performance. Now we're going to go back to our classical dance master, Shubukai. I forgot to mention a little bit about the videotape that we saw right after Shubukai and Tsukasa Taiko collaborations a few programs ago. That was a video clip from Beyond the Box that was led by Yoshinoji Ofujima. She usually curates this really interesting neo-classical, postmodern, modern classical dance venture at the Lynx Hall. And that was a little video clip from her latest work called Suji. And we saw that little bit of the taste of the performance there in the videotape. So Shubukai is one of the oldest classical dance company, the Japanese classical dance company in Chicago area. Grandmaster Shunojo Fujima has been dancing for the community and the general public for the last 43 years. And he is a living treasure, and I am so happy to present you Grandmaster Shunojo Fujima from Shu. That was Shunojo Fujima from our classical dance program. One of the three grandmasters from Shubukai program. And it's very, very rare actually. We're doing on a streaming, but it's very rare to see Japanese classical dance. Anyway, in Shubukai put such a interesting shows all the time, both in contemporary and in the classical dance world. One of the biggest news of the Shubukai this year, the end of the last year to this year, was that since Shubukai is dancing for 42 years, their archival videotape was featured in one of the dance makers, Chicago Dance Makers Forum archival project, and it's a little video clip of Fujima Sensei and Yoshinojo Fujima dancing in the archival VHS tape, and it's being stored as a part of the Chicago dance history, and I think it's really, really a big thing for the Asian American community that I think all of the people who are studying Asian Americans in many different institutions, we always talk about the kind of this Asian American community as an invisible nation, that we are in many places that we're sort of marginalized. Because we have to fight for the stereotype, we have to fight for the racism, and time like this, I think it's very, very touchy time for Asian American. Being Asian in COVID-19 and everything else, so to have one of the Grandmaster Shunojo Fujima's work as a part of Chicago dance histories, I think it's really, really great. And also I have to appreciate this effort of Marguerite and Hot House to have Asian American experience as a part of their programming. I think it's really, really, really great that they see our contribution as a part of the Chicago music. And like I said, it's oftentimes we're dismissed in many locations of the music history, and this is one of the opportunities for us to kind of present who we are, why we do what we do. And now I think the program continues. Where are we here? There are many. John Jan, what can we say about John Jang, there's too many things to actually say about John Jang. So, but I'm gonna try to make it really short about John Jang. So, John Jang and Francis Wong are two of the really key individuals during the 80s to establish this organization called Asian Improv Arts, along with this little indie record company, Asian Improv Records. And this was a time much more so than now. Nobody really paid attention to what contemporary Asian American musicians were doing at the time. And John Jang and Francis Wong and a bunch of other people, Mia Masaoka, Glenn Horiuchi, Anthony Brown, Mark Izu, all these great people in Bay Area got together and made this organization called Asian Improv Arts. And 20, 30, 40 years later, it came to Chicago, and I ended up, running the Asian Improv Arts Midwest as a part of the sister organization from Bay Area and Chicago. But John Jang is the central figure of this world Asian American jazz. If there is any Asian American jazz history to be talking about, you really cannot talk about this without John Jang and Francis Wong and Glenn Horiuchi. Those are the three, and Mia Masaoka, Mark Izu, and Anthony Brown. Those are the really important people in this Bay Area Asian American jazz. And I am so happy to have John Jang on our inaugural pilot volume 1 production of Hot House Global. And here is the Asian American jazz, John Jang.
Good evening, friends. I'm going to perform You'll Never Walk Alone by Rodgers and Hammerstein, which is the only solo piano performance on my latest CD recording, The Pledge of Black Asian Allegiance, which is on Asian Improv Records and is available on Amazon.
Yes, that was John Jang from San Francisco, and we just put John Jang's new album link to uh, our chat, which you see on the screen, and um, don't forget to scroll down to your screen. Um, you're going to see a couple of donation boxes, and I want you to contribute if you can, because it's kind of important to keep the music going and support the artist, support the staff members too, who's doing this wonderful show here. And yeah, donation boxes. If you scroll it down, it's at the bottom there. So next contender is a Rami Atashi, one of my favorite guitar players now in Chicago. I've worked with him for a number of occasions, and he also has a new album. If I go around album collection here in the back of the studio here now, this is Rami Atashi's new album called Rami Atashi Atashi wa Rami. It's a rhyme little joke in Japanese language. If you know what that means I am Rami, and Rami's name kind of rhymes really well with Watashi wa Rami. So it's a really cool album, and you get to kind of have a Rami's work. He's also into other project of ours. Yumi Project is one of my band. It's very it's sort of a mixture of Asian traditional music and the Chicago's avant-garde jazz. He's also featured in there. And he's also a rock star too. So he's into many different clubs in Chicago, playing with different groups. And you get to hear Rami Atashi's World tonight.
All right, hey, I'm Rami. Thanks for tuning in. What Tatsu did not mention is that my latest record, Atashi wa Rami, is actually a record of duets with Tatsu. And so tonight I'm gonna sort of play a remix of one of those tunes. The first track off the album is called Dreamers, and it starts with a super groovy bass line from Tatsu, which is sort of the standard when we play together. So thanks again. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Oh, got some mad delay still on there. My name's Rami Atasi. Thanks again to Tatsu and Hot House for having me. And I do have a new record out. I'll post the link to the Spotify in the chat so that you can give it a listen. Thanks again.
That was Rami Atashi. And don't forget to click into his webpage. And I think he has his music on Spotify as well as Amazon. So you can buy his new album, Rami Atashi's Atashi wa Rami. That's very nice soundscape album by Rami. You just saw a little taste of that. And next down the line is, as a host of today's program, I also had to do this. I was originally just going to do the, introducing people only, but I am a musician too, so I have to, here is my contribution, guys. that was my part of the contribution for tonight's music. And thank you very much for all of you to kind of hang out with us for a good 2 hours. And we would like to wrap up tonight's edition of Hot House Global and Asian Improv Arts Midwest collaboration programming by a San Francisco artist, wonderful choreographer, producer, and dancer, and a manager, and everything, Lenore Lee. Lenore Lee Dance is one of the Asian American dance company from Bay Area, and she has been working on a number of a project in connection with Asian American experience. So I would like to introduce you now to Lenore Lee and Lenore Lee Dance, and she's going to show one of her movies.
Hi everyone, my name is Lenora. I'm a dancer, choreographer, and artistic director based in San Francisco. I've been a part of Asian Improv Arts San Francisco since about 2008, and I've also been running my own dance company since then as well. Our dance company focuses on large-scale multimedia and oftentimes immersive dance works and performances. And I've had the great honor and pleasure to work with composer, saxophonist Francis Wong, co-founder of Asian Improv Arts San Francisco, as well as Tatsu for many, many years. And in 2012, I started to work with Tatsu in a film way because we've been doing a lot of video projection as part of our live performance, and we brought Tatsu in to direct our video shoots. And he brought a very cinematic approach to the shooting and the editing, creating other layers of narrative for our pieces. Oftentimes I do projects that are based on research of different communities, different periods in history, different populations. And so, for example, we've done works based on Chinese immigration to the United States, and violence against women, human trafficking, violence within the military, stories of incarceration, and experiences of living with cancer. And so since 2013, actually, we started to make films, experimental dance films, because Tatsu, in addition to being a really incredible musician and leader in the music field, he's also an amazing filmmaker. And so we, in 2013, started upon a project which is a full-length experimental dance film called Light. And we shot a lot of footage in New York City and Chinatown and various other locations in New York, and based this piece on a story of a woman who was brought over to serve as an indentured, she ended up being an indentured servant in New York. And so we created not only a film but also a live performance piece, and that came out in 2017. And what we're going to share with you right now is a short experimental film that we created called The Detached, and that was in 2014. We shot The Detached on Angel Island in the East Garrison Hospital, which was used during World War II as a place to hold POWs. And it's a bit of a kind of a nightmare that somebody steps into, and it's short and experimental. But these two together are part of a box set that we created. It's the Light box set that Tatsu directed, edited, features his and Francis's music, and my dance company. That's available on Amazon or my website as well. So here we go. We're going to go into the film Detached. Thanks so much. Hope you enjoy.
That was Lenore Lee and Lenore Lee Dance presenting a short movie called Detached, one of my favorite work with Lenore. And thank you very much for hanging out with us. And I really, really appreciate this opportunity to be able to present this a legacy of Asian American music in Chicago and nationwide. As well as a legacy of our relationship with the Hot House for so many years. And for the viewers, I have to do this. Behind the scene is probably the most important parts of success of this kind of a program. So this whole troupe here is headed by, of course, none other than Margaret Holberg. It's a HotHouseGlobal. But also, along with that, in the last 2 weeks, we worked together on this venture here. There are Edward Wilkerson and Bizram Rezetbekovich, Caleb Willits, Jonathan Woods, Louis Che, and James Sanders, and Kyoto Aoki, and they are the staff behind this whole thing. And also I have to thank the community leaders, John Cheng and Russell Zhang, who talked about the Asian American history and the current situation for our COVID-19 versus Asian American community experience. And I have to say this to everybody, especially for the staff members behind the scene. We did it, guys. This was a very, very successful moment for our pilot program number 1. And you know, program number 2 is coming. That means program number 3 is coming, and then after. And you know, make sure you're gonna follow us on HotHouseGlobal. Yes, and you know, legacy of the Hot House is not really just about the Asian American communities and Asian American creative music, because you know, we have this legal term called not limited to. So HotHouseGlobal is global. So there's going to be a lot of other music, performance, multimedia program being broadcasted this way very, 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 very soon. And thank you very much for everybody, and thank you all the staff members to make this happen, and thank you so much for the artists who's contributing to this wonderful program. And we are going to have a last few important announcement from our guru, Marguerite Holberg of Hot House Global.
Hi, I'm trying this again. The video I stunt before, we did 5 takes. Shelby and I did that the other day. Fortunately, I sent the one that wasn't complete. But I did want to thank Tatsu, Aoki, and all the performers for just the unbelievable performance and evening they created for us. And this is a project that we want to continue going forward. We want to make it a robust platform for people to connect from all over the world. So please get in touch with your ideas and collaborations. We want to thank Vedran and Ed and Jonathan and David and Luis and Caleb, who were the team that put this together. Many hours went into this. We really appreciate all their work and Tatsu's work as well. And we want to thank the Crossroads Fund and all the people who donated and all the people who beta tested the project. So a huge appreciation from all of us at Hot House. Give us your ideas at hothouse3.0@gmail.com. One thing we hope that we demonstrated tonight is how we're able to pull links and feeds from all over the world. So be creative. Let's do this together. And looking forward to connecting with you at the same bat time, same bat channel. Thank you.